What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are doing well today. So I want to talk to you guys about retiring. Not only just retiring and being able to, wake up at any point in time in the day and being able to spend your day the way you want to be able to spend your life and your time with your friends and your family the way you want to, but more importantly, how to reach retirement in as soon as possible. So let's just set a target date of 7 years. Can you do it? I think you can. So first thing we need to realize is there's something that is called life expectancy, right? So like, how long are you going to live? Most people spend a good 40, 50, 60 hours a week working, but the average life expectancy in the United States is only 77 years old. And so with that being said, with most people retiring or setting a retirement target date at like 65 years old, that means you're only going to have like 12 years of retirement to enjoy, right? So why not have more years? So how do you do that? Well, you'd have to retire a whole lot sooner than 65 years old. I think you can retire in your 40s. I think you can honestly retire in your 30s. Whatever your target is, I think it is doable if you have the right plan. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel, do your boy a favor, go ahead and drop a like for the video and subscribe to the channel. I really, really appreciate that. Now, can we retire in 7 years? Now, most people would say no, because, most people are super conventional and they're not willing to think outside the box, but I think that you can. In fact, I know you can. And the first thing you need to realize is how important the amount of money that you can save is for retirement. Now, this might seem silly, but this is something that we really need to focus on, right? So there's a direct correlation to your savings rate and how quickly you're going to be able to retire. So, now obviously I can give you all sorts of hacks on how to save money faster and things like that. If you guys want more information on that, definitely hit me up in the comment section down below. Maybe I'll make a dedicated video on how to save, an extra $10,000 in the first 4 months or 3 months, whatever the case is. So anyway, the first thing you want to focus on is saving money. So in the first year, that is our goal. We want to save as much money as we can. We want to lower all of our expenses as low as we can. Cut out the unnecessary subscriptions, dump your car payment if you have one. And if you can't escape a car payment altogether, reduce that as low as possible. Maybe trade the car in, sell it, get a less expensive car. And this also includes your housing. Like, lower your expenses as much as possible across the board. So if that means like moving into a less expensive home, renting a less expensive house or an apartment, these are the things you need to focus on. And of course, food. Like, if you eat out every single day or all the time, you might want to really cut back, because eating out versus buying food at the grocery store there's a drastic difference in cost. So those are the key areas that I would focus on in terms of being able to save as much money by reducing my expenses as much as possible, right? Now, the next thing I will focus on is, saving, but also incorporating a side hustle, right? So of course, we can work our tail off at our main job, getting as much overtime as possible, but we can really accelerate the speed at which we can save money by increasing our income by leveraging side hustles, right? So, you might consider driving for Uber, driving for Lyft. These are just a couple of different side hustle opportunities. You can do DoorDash. There's all sorts of different side hustle opportunities. But the thing is like whenever you do DoorDash, Uber, it's like you're wearing your car out, you're wearing yourself out, and you're trading time for money. Now, we all trade time for money in the beginning, but the goal is to actually break free from needing to trade our time for money. And basically we want to get to a point where our money works for us. In fact, where our money works harder than we do. All right. And we're going to get to that later in this video. And this is how we leverage the power of compounding and being able to retire early. Now, obviously you can do side hustles like Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, things like that. But another thing you could do is you could start a YouTube channel like this one. That is the difference with that is starting a YouTube channel. If you do it the right way, and I teach people how to do this all the time. is a YouTube channel can actually be a business, and you can also sell products online. So between starting a YouTube channel or selling products online, these are different types of businesses that will eventually allow you to separate yourself and not have to spend so much time to generate income, right? Because again, we don't want to always have to trade time for money. Now, keep in mind, this side hustle is not so you can just go out and ball out of control. This side hustle income is for you to be able to save more money. In fact, I would, if I'm you, and this is not financial advice at all, but I did this. And so I'm just giving you guys the rundown of pretty much what I did. There's some things in here that, I haven't done personally, but, I have very good friends that are doing it. But yeah, I would save 100% of my side hustle income and invest it. Where would I invest it? Well, it depends. I would invest it in the stock market, index funds, ETFs, as well as high interest savings accounts. Why? Because I always want to have an emergency fund. Make sure we stay out of high interest credit card debt. Now, let's talk about house hacking, right? So, you want to use your savings from the previous years to invest in a 2, maybe a 4-unit multifamily apartment, or more, 2 or 4 unit multifamily house. And technically it could be an apartment, I guess, if it has 4 units. But anyway, the key here is you can utilize what is called a first-time home buyer FHA loan. And you can utilize this with a 3.5. Basically, if you get an FHA loan, you only have to put like 3.5% down. And you can basically house hack by living in one of the units, and then you rent out the other units to help you cover your mortgages, your taxes, and your insurance. Now, here's the thing. If, let's just say hypothetically, you buy like a $300,000 house, and basically, if you negotiate a deal where basically you have the seller give you a kickback, so to speak, you can ultimately have the majority of your down payment returned back to you. A lot of people don't realize that this is an option. Definitely let me know if you guys want me to explain more on how to make that possible, because I know a lot of people struggle to come up with a down payment. But wouldn't it be cool to be able to make that down payment, but also get that payment right back the day you move into the house, right? Because at this point, remember, we're trying to save money, and the last thing we want to do is waste money on a down payment and tie it up in the house. In the future, we're going to make a lot more money. So let's focus on holding on to as much as we have now. And then if you want to pay the house off early in the future, you can definitely do that. Now, the next thing we want to do is, we want to focus on scaling. Now, the thing about scaling is, like, we're going to take a lot of the things that we've been doing over the last couple of years, and we're going to really accelerate them, right? So at this point, you could basically, like, purchase another 3 or 4 unit property, and you can use that same first time home buyer loan as an upgrade. A lot of people don't realize you can actually use a first time home buyer loan more than one time. In other words, you can get approved for a first time home buyer loan more than once, as long as that next home is considered a quote unquote upgrade, right? So basically, move into the new property, and the property you used to live in, you can rent that one out. So move into the new property, rent out the previous property for cash flow, right? And this is going to increase, basically you're going to increase your focus on building income streams. So the previous home you were living in is now a source of income. And it was a source of income while you were living there. But since you were living in one of the units, it wasn't fully maximized in terms of the income it could generate, but it did lower your living expenses while you lived there, because you had, you rented out the other 2 to 3 other units. But now that you've moved out, you've got hypothetically a 4-unit home that you used to live in one of the units. Now all 4 units are paying you. You also have the added benefit of diversification, because you got 4 different tenants living in that house in each of the units. So you have income diversification through the different tenants, right? So that's really important, and it's going to help you to increase your cash flow and increase how much money you can save every single month, so you can get closer and closer to retirement. Because remember, the goal is to retire really, really fast, right? And in this case, we're trying to retire in like 7 years, right? So, now we want to focus on building on the income streams that we started, right? So, yeah, we had a job, we had our 9 to 5 job, and we leveraged the income from those paychecks. We did a little bit of Uber, DoorDash, Lyft side hustles. But again, both of those were dependent on your time, your trading time for money. But now we want to focus on building these income streams, right? And so now we really want to optimize. We want to optimize the amount of income that we're earning, and not just run around with like a chicken with its head cut off, right? So you want to choose between house hacking again, or you can optimize your current income streams. So basically, at this point, we want to work on scaling these side hustles to generate anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 a month. That's the goal. Now, you can also explore running Airbnb from the rentals that you have to boost your income. Maybe you don't want to necessarily rent those units out to long-term renters at, doing like 1-year leases and 2-year leases. Maybe you list one or several of those units, depending upon where you live and what the market's like. You can list those properties, those units on Airbnb or VRBO, and increase and literally boost your income, because usually short-term rental rates will be much higher in terms of the income that can be generated compared to long-term rental rates. So yeah, so that's another little hack, right? We can talk about that more if you guys want to discuss that in detail. But now we want to build our income streams, right? And I'm talking about continuing to build and scale these income streams. The aim is to generate like anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month from the side hustle. All right. You want to work toward like reducing how much time you're spending on the side hustle. So, you don't want to make $10,000 a month, but you spent like 100 hours a week on the business, right? On that side hustle. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to retire early. And so in order to retire early, we have to be strategic on how we do these things. Now, by the way, if you guys want to hit me up, you want to reach out to me directly, feel free to reach out to me. Send me a message on Patreon. You'll see a link in the description down below. But yeah, so the last thing that I will focus on is, just long-term housing and financial freedom. Right. So essentially, I would move into, I would probably move into like a more long-term location, single family home. I'd probably move away from the multi-family homes. Maybe you could consider a duplex. It depends on the person. But me personally, I wouldn't even want to mess with a duplex. Definitely not a triplex at this stage of the game. Because remember, the goal is financial freedom. You want to be detached from all these different things that helped you to get here. So, so basically, I would utilize that first-time home buyer loan to get that next property. But then you're probably thinking to yourself, like, well, how are you gonna get that? How are you gonna get that third property? You already did 2 first-time home buyer loans. Well, I mean, if you're married, your spouse could get a first-time home buyer loan too. And this is kind of like why I never recommend putting both people on the loan if only one person could qualify. I'll talk to you guys more about that in the future, but I see people do this all the time. It's like, why did y'all both put your names on the loan when only one person was required in order to get qualified? Because strategically, it doesn't make financial sense. You could actually still have both parties on the deed to the property without having both the husband and the wife on the loan. Anyway, I'm getting on a tangent, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me personally, financially, right? So, so you move into the single family house, and don't move into some baller house, 20,000 square feet. The key here is to be able to retire early as quickly as possible, right? So you want to make sure you move into some place that essentially has a very low overhead, minimum mortgage payments, low property taxes, low maintenance, right? And you want to, you can rent out all of the previous properties that you've owned, that we discussed previously. You can run Airbnb, you can run VRBO on those properties if you really want to like maximize how much income you're generating from those properties. And of course, it does depend on like where in the United States the property is. Some areas are just not very good for Airbnb or VRBO, and you would be better off renting the properties long term for like, you know, like 1 or 2 year leases. But if you live in Florida, chances are, you know, people are always visiting and they would love to rent that property at a fairly high rate. So there's that. But the key here is you want to live off of your properties, live off of the Airbnb and VRBO rental income that you can generate, and rely on your side hustle income for financial freedom. This is how you can actually retire super fast, super early. Can you retire in 7 years? Yeah. I honestly think you can retire in even less than 7 years. There's some things we would need to tweak, but, you know, depending upon how hungry you are and how motivated you are, I think it always comes down to why, right? Like, why do you want to retire so early, so fast, right? And if your why is powerful enough, if your why is big enough, then you can make anything happen. So that's just my little motivational tip for you guys. By the way, if you guys are new to the channel, you made it this far, do your boy a favor, drop a like for the video and subscribe to the channel. Basically you want to just like aim to retire early, avoid unnecessary expenses, maximize your income as fast as possible, as aggressively as possible. And the other cool thing is you realize how unimportant material things are. Now, don't get me wrong, I like nice things, but they're not really important. They're cool to have, but for me, real happiness comes from relationships, experiences, and good friends and good family, you know. So holler at me if you feel me on that one. But again, you want to really focus on sacrificing, living frugally, earning more income, and investing intelligently. So I think you guys can do it. Drop me some comments down below. Let me know if this resonated with anybody, and please share this video with a friend who needs to hear this. Right now you should see 2 videos here and here. Go ahead and click on those videos next, and I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one.